From zero to hero, it's time for a new generation. All right, we jumped into Generation Zero, 1989, Sweden. Robots have taken over. What do you think of this one?
Pretty crazy world right off the start, kind of a Judgment Day scenario. 80s vibe is really cool.
Oh yeah, the music when you start this game up, that's the first thing that got me. Is the opening menu is the music is so awesome.
It draws you in. Yeah. I was thinking of Stranger Things.
Yeah,
better come out soon.
That's definitely what it sounded like.
But the ambience of the audio, not even just the music. So once you get in, you find yourself very alone.
Yes.
And
it's quiet.
It's very quiet, and it's eerie quiet. And there's a lot of sounds that you kind of hear on the horizon to bring you into a new area, so to speak. So there's a few kind of robot enemies that are scattered about the world. And as soon as you encounter them, that's when the game really took off for me.
Yes, it actually gives you this like stealthy approach to this game because you kind of get into it, and it does a day-night cycle in this game. So depending on when you're hopping in, it could be a certain time of day, which actually changes the game up quite a bit, I found. But what it really happens is you find yourself kind of walking around, looting a little bit. You haven't really seen too much to start off.
What you're doing,
but when you encounter these packs of almost like these robot dog kind of mech style animals, and if they notice you, that's when things start to get a little more interesting in this game, because it's pretty quiet to start off, but as soon as you alert one of these machines, man, do they come after you pretty quick.
Oh, and they are quick. That's a good way to describe it, because if you see them before they see you, you might be okay, but if they see you before you see them, they're on top of you right away.
You're in trouble.
Dogs is another good way of describing it, because they kind of hunt in a pack, I've found. So one will attack you and the others will circle around to your back, and they have these Gatling guns that will engage you with at a long range to kind of keep your attention.
And they got a good shot. Let me tell you, I got clipped a couple times. Like, oh, okay, I'm having to let my league on this.
They give you good damage because you're trying to put them down with these kind of weak guns that you find in the starting area, and you're trying to work your way up through some better loot.
Yeah.
But at the very start, it's really hard to take these down. And while you're busy with one, they'll circle around and they start hitting you with these melee attacks, and that's where it all fell apart for me. And where I found myself wanting some more help in this game. So I did have one encounter with one character. Now that's kind of a problem with me because this game seems very online oriented.
Yes, it's definitely they want you to take that co-op approach. So you can play up to 4 people in a party on this one, but actually they've run into some issues with this. People are joining parties online and you actually can't make your party private. So if it's maybe you and a friend, actually 2 randoms can join in with you, and when you join in with a friend, you actually don't start in the same spot on the map. You actually just kind of get dropped somewhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And that's really inconvenient when this game's about kind of traveling together quietly,
scavenge your party.
Exactly.
That's what it feels like. It feels almost like a scenario from The Walking Dead where you're going house to house trying to find anything useful at all.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of the missions that I found were explore this sanctuary or this church or this house or this other house that's
looks like that last house,
somehow all full of the same furniture and everything too.
Yes.
It was very that's where I kind of had a problem with it, because not only had the houses kind of plain and dull, although they look very nice.
Yeah, no, the graphics in this game were actually really nice.
And the assets are very busy. There's a lot of things and they're all shiny and they look nice.
Yeah, the robot mechs look really good.
And even the enemy characters. But when it comes to searching the church, the sanctuary, this one's particular, I could not find what I was trying to get for hours. It was very obscure. I found there was no kind of hints or indicators.
No, there is very little direction in this game. And that right from the beginning, you notice they don't really tell you what you need to be doing. The objective's very vague. Like it says, travel to this area and search for this thing. Not really tells you exactly where it is or what you're not necessarily looking for.
So I'm looking through all these cars, which another nice detail, every time you open the car doors, the lights came on.
Yeah.
And when you open the trunk, same thing. And I found that was just little details.
Cool little touches. And you know what? It seems like they've concentrated a lot on these little details in this game, but the overall approach to the game, there are some issues. And what they've been reporting, we've noticed is that there's a few bugs in this game. You can kind of find some of the mechs getting stuck in crates, some ammo crates not being able to open open. There's issues with this game, but there's a kind of an intrigue and a draw to it, because let me tell you, when you first encounter these mechs and they spot you, the music changes and you get into this mode, and you're like, oh man, all right, now decisions need to be made, whether you're going down or you're running away, which you can evade, and you actually get extra experience for that, which I thought was kind of neat.
That is cool.
So yeah, so you can run around and you can kind of dodge these guys, and you don't have to necessarily engage with them, because like you said, they do travel in packs, and sometimes you don't have the ammo to deal with the number of mechs that are out there.
The ammo specifically was a little bit frustrating for me. So you have an inventory that you can upgrade, but it's more of a later game upgrade for the inventory slots, and you find yourself carrying a lot of ammo types that you're probably not going to use. And not only that, but I just had every single radio I came across, every single propane tank. I was storing these things, and every single gun that I found, in case I did have somebody drop into my game, I wanted to provide them with some fun things. But there was almost too much spread around the map for me to carry. But it felt like a scavenger game.
It did. Your inventory's a little weak, right? Because you start filling up your inventory with all these items that you don't really need. And when you first get into a game like this, you don't know what you need, so you kind of want to collect as much as you can so you can figure out how to use it. But in this game, your inventory is very crucial. You want to be carrying the essentials, what you need, because you're always on the move to restock and resupply. But I just found that it was just a little like you're picking up all this stuff that you just never end up using. So it felt like there wasn't really much use for it at all in the game.
And then I found myself too full that I didn't really want to search a building incredibly a lot. So I just ended up not having too much to do. I was running around in the world finding these bots, and I only found 2 variants of robots so far. So lots of packs of dogs. They were really fun to shoot at, and especially when you get into like tight urban environments and you're fighting with packs of these things. Got really cool. But the only other thing I saw was a little scout drone flying around.
Yeah, and they kind of alert the other ones too, which and you don't see, they're not as easy to see as obviously some of the other ones in the game. So when these things alert, that's when you're in trouble. And let me tell you, I never found myself having much ammo for any of the guns I had, but what I did find is that using the guns in this game, the gameplay with the guns was really good. I thought it was really clean.
It was really tight. It was all the hit markers, all the hit boxes, everything was, there was no failure there. No problem
definitely
that I
not.
ever detected in that.
No.
Each of the enemies has, well, the one enemy I've come across and destroyed a lot of, they have their weak spot.
Yeah, it's like a fuel tank on its back, and when you hit it, man, actually that looks awesome when you hit it and they blow up.
And you can
it looks
chain
really
the explosions
good.
together too.
Yes.
So if you're hitting a pack and you're getting scattering damage on them, the one will just set them all off. It's visually a very appealing game, even with the electrical effects and the gunfire and stuff. I found it to be very detailed.
Yeah, that's the thing. The graphics in this game are really good, and you find that the interactions with the robots is probably the best part of the game. The looting seems a little basic because you're traveling to the same style of houses, you know, it doesn't matter what area in the map you're in, you feel like you're looking at the same things. So then when the robots are introduced, that's when it gets exciting because the music's changing, so you start having fun. But when you're joining up and playing with other people, I think that's where this game really shines.
Yeah. It must. And there's no NPCs of any kind that I've found at all. So there's no one to talk to or anything. I spoke to somebody on a radio, and that was the closest I got to having an actual
You are
hint
alone
on
in
what
this
I'm doing.
game. You are alone in this game for sure.
Yeah. All right, Corey, so we played this game. What do you think you're going to have to give it?
Well, like we talked about right from the beginning, the audio is really what got me with this game. It's got that 80s feel, that music's really awesome, and just even the sounds of the guns in the games and the way the robots sound, everything about the audio in this game was really good. The graphics were good. They weren't the best out there, but by no means were they bad.
Still pretty.
No, they were really good. But what I did find is that when you're looking at the same houses over and over again, that's really where it started to kind of get me. And just the fact that there wasn't a whole lot of direction. It was a fun game to play, but I feel like it's kind of a empty game as well. So for me, I'm gonna actually have to give it a 5.5.
I think I'm there exactly. I have to give that a 6.
Generation Zero really shines with its late 80s soundtrack, and the game's audio overall is really good. Graphically, the robots look polished, and the weather effects were a nice touch as well. But the overall gameplay felt really repetitive. When you're searching around and searching the same 2 types of houses all game long, it can feel kind of monotonous. There's bones here for a good game, but it just seems to fall a little short.